don't really have that normal upbringing, you don't experience the world the way that normal people do, the emotional connection that Mikaela could have had, and I think Paramount kind of did a disservice to her, honestly. Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, Astrid Camia, where we talk about all things Transformers. And today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about the one and only Mikaela Banes from Transformers, the first movie in 2007, as well as the second movie in the Bayverse installment, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. So really, what this video is going to be about, an analysis of why I feel like Mikaela could have been the main character throughout the first three, at least, Bayverse movies. We're gonna dive into her backstory, who she is as a person, but really we're gonna look into, I feel like, the wasted potential that she had and how she could have really done more within the story. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. So first off, I think it's good to dive into kind of her character overview and also just a brief background of where she came from, what her childhood was like. As we know, Mikaela is one of the central characters within the first Transformers movie and the second Transformers movie directed by Michael Bay. She is portrayed by Megan Fox in both of those movies, and later on she didn't return. So her backstory, pretty much, we don't actually know a lot about her, but it has been said that she was, I think, raised by a single father who also kind of had troubles on his own. Worked as like a mechanic, but he stole pretty much most of the cars that he worked on, and because he couldn't really, I guess, find or afford a babysitter for Mikaela, he took her along to his work, and that's how she learned eventually how to fix cars, and she got into that kind of mechanical kind of lifestyle. And because of this and because of her childhood, I feel like she really evolved into this independent and resourceful woman, and we can see that throughout those first two movies. She really does have a mind of her own, even though it's not really explored. In addition to that, we also know that throughout the time she is with Sam, whether it's in the first or second movie, she does have this incredible sense of loyalty to her friends and also just to the cause of doing what's right. And I think, again, that really stems from the childhood that she had, and things she faced back then really shaped her into who she is right now. So now let's kind of go into what the story says happened between her and Sam, because we know after the second movie and the third movie, Sam is with Carly. It's not really explained what happened to Mikaela, except that she broke up with him because she didn't want, she wanted to live a normal life. I personally feel like that would work better if it was like switched the other way around, if Sam said that to someone like Mikaela. And I'll go into that a bit later. I'd argue that that doesn't really make sense based on how I perceive Mikaela to be as a person. She did play an integral part of the story. There's no doubt about that. We can see that she is kind of like, at the beginning, she is kind of like this just normal and popular high school girl, but she does have this, I think, she shows two different sides to herself based on who she's with. And with Sam, she can really show who she is, you know, that just that troubled, I guess, teenager who had a troubled past, who I would argue is also quite lonely, because I feel like she has to really portray this different side of herself when she's with her other peers and when she's at school. And also just in general, whether she was like the main character or she's just like a side character, I feel like they really didn't utilize the fact that she had really good like mechanical knowledge. She has like a really good knowledge of like mechanics and cars and vehicles because of, you know, her dad. And I think the only time we only see that like a few times throughout the first two movies, but I feel like they could have really used that as like a plot point or whatever, whether she was the main character or not. So now that we've kind of explored her origins and her backstory, kind of what she likes and who she is, I'm gonna go into why I personally feel like she would have made a better main character than Sam. Not saying that Sam was a bad main character, but just how they portrayed Mikaela, I feel like there was so much wasted potential. First thing I want to kind of go into is that Mikaela has more of a kind of interesting and maybe relatable backstory, in the sense that she really struggled as a child. I feel like it's gonna give you some trauma one way or another. Mikaela, if they made her the main character, having her later on meet the Autobots, who are also different in the sense that they're new to Earth. No one really trusts them at all. The emotional connection that Mikaela could have had with the Autobots makes more sense. And also this one's quite obvious, but her connection with mechanics, that connection was there, it just was never explored. That would have been much more meaningful compared to nothing against Sam in particular. I still loved those two movies and all of the movies, but I don't know, I just think it could have been more effective and meaningful storytelling. And again, because of her kind of troubled past, I feel like the Autobots could have played a much better role in transforming her as a person, from being someone who is isolated and not being able to show who they are, to really stepping into who they're meant to be. Because, you know, she could have really evolved into someone who tapped into her skills, her mechanical skills, which I guess she probably thought that I shouldn't do that because, one, I'm a girl, and two, people only see me for my looks, and that's really the only quality that will get people to like me. But I feel like if we got the Autobots to come in and then really help her navigate herself and allow her to see that it's okay to like things that people might not normally like, and I feel like that would have been such a good kind of character development story for her, instead of just Mikaela being seen as like the pretty girlfriend. Other than Sam just being the main character, I feel like a lot of the time she's on screen, the main purpose of her being there was to kind of, I really hate saying this, but like just to be eye candy. A lot of wasted potential there. And like going back to what I said earlier about how I think it doesn't make sense that someone like Mikaela would tell Sam, I don't want to be with you anymore because I don't want to kind of live in this kind of different and not normal life. Again, it's not impossible for her to feel that way, but because of her upbringing compared to Sam's, and we can see that Sam really like wants a normal life. Throughout like the first 3 films, we can see that Sam's like, oh, this isn't my fight, like I just want to go to college, I want to get a job, I want to stop fighting in this intergalactic war. But we don't really see Mikaela saying that. If anything, I feel like she could have been the one to step up and be like, okay, if you don't want to fight in this, I can do it. And when you don't really have that normal upbringing, you don't experience the world the way that normal people do, you're not destined to have a normal life. If that was explored with Mikaela's character, I just feel like that would have made the story like so much better. But I feel like she could have stayed as the main character throughout the entire 5 films. If you just think about it, her starting out as this kind of isolated, pretty popular girl who has kind of her own ambition and goal, but no one's ever seen that about her. Then her seeing and finding her purpose with the Autobots, she could really generate that close connection with them. But then also, we know after the 3rd film what happened, like the Battle of Chicago, and then everyone on Earth was just like, yep, no, we hate all the Autobots, all the Decepticons, all the Transformers, we hate them, we want them killed, we want them out. We know how Cade, portrayed by Mark Wahlberg, comes in the 4th movie. He is a mechanic, and after he finds Optimus Prime, he really feels that connection with him, because I think, again, Cade is someone who just feels like, oh, I want to do something different, I don't belong. And so he connects with Optimus, and especially in this time when, you know, Optimus and the Autobots, they're being hunted down by the humans, Mikaela could have really been that person. I'm just going into like my own headcanon right now, but I feel like this could really work. After the battle, you know, if they got separated, Mikaela, and having that connection after everything that she's been through with the Autobots and throughout her childhood, she could honestly take on Cade's role throughout the 4th and the 5th movie. I think it would make a lot of sense if that's how they fleshed it out from the 1st movie all the way to the 5th. Again, I really do think there was a lot of wasted potential, and I think Paramount kind of did a disservice to her, honestly. I get why she was put there in a lot of the scenes, like used just kind of to look attractive. And that's okay, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but also if they gave her really, I mean, even alongside Sam, they could have really fleshed her out, utilizing that background she had and exploring further how she could have developed that connection with the Autobots. But I think a lot of what I said is kind of similar to how they portrayed Charlie in Bumblebee. Again, she's kind of like this outsider. Compared to Mikaela, she's not like the popular kid, she's more of like the nerd, but she's also like this mechanic who feels like she doesn't belong. And that's how she formed that connection with Bumblebee. That would have really worked with Mikaela. Just her figuring out that she's more than just her looks, who she was as a child and what she went through, and that she can be so much more by developing a connection with the Autobots and finding out she wasn't destined to live a very, a normal life. I still loved Mikaela overall in the first two films. She was such a great character and she really did bring a lot to the story, and without her, Transformers definitely wouldn't have been the same. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed planning it out and recording it, and also talking to you guys whenever I get the chance just on my page. Thank you so much for all your support, and I will see you guys again soon.